We kick off this SportsMax zone on a Thursday with football, and Saturday, April the 13th, is the date cemented for delegates of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association to elect a new executive body. The Twin Island Republic is set to make a decision between two presidential candidates, the Eastern Football Association President Kyron Edwards and the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Premier League football competition, Colin Wharf. Let's now take a quick look at the respective slates, beginning with that of Colin Wharf, who we spoke with some weeks ago on the show. His vice presidents are Colonel Keston Charles, Rene John Williams, and Hewitt Cadet. Ordinary members, Combe de Freitas, Richard Mason, Lee Davis, Riaz Ali, and Macan Hislop. Here's the Keon Edwards slate now. He has as his vice presidents Osman Downer, that's the second vice president, Colin Murray, first vice president, Jameson Reeks, the third vice president. The ordinary members are Alicia Austin, Andrew Badu, Alan Logan, Ran Eunice, and Shelton Williams. That's the slate of Kyron Edwards. Now, as clarified by the TTFA statutes, the election for the positions within the executive committee shall take place by slate, which means there shall be no election by position. A voting delegate will be invited to register their vote via secret ballot at the elective Congress for either one of the two slates, being Slate Edwards or Slate Wharf. We've already spoken to Colin Wharf on the show, and so today we welcome Kyron Edwards. Kyron, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. Great to have you on the SportsMax Zone, and we are very eager to get into this discussion with you. Can I start here, though? The guidelines just outlined about the process of the election. Are you comfortable with that? All aspects of it?
I'm comfortable with it. I understand why FIFA and CONCACAF would have made the change in terms of voting for slate. I think we would have had in the past in the TTFA with executives coming from different slates. It would have been some difficulties for executives to execute their mandate after being selected by the general meeting. So I do understand it, and I'm comfortable with the decision that was done by slate.
Yeah, and the secret ballots, was that always a feature of TNT Football Association elections?
Yes, the secret ballot was always there. So it's in keeping with what was previously there. It's just now we're not voting by positions, now we are voting by slate. So that's the only change they would have made with the executive.
Well, we're just over a week now from these elections, Kyron, and there's been a lot of discussion on this and where it is going. And because TNT's football has been on the normalization committee governance for so long, this is a very critical period in the Football Association's life. How confident are you that things will work your way on the 13th?
I'm very confident in terms of the election. I would have done my work meeting with the membership, laying out a manifesto, engaging the membership, engaging stakeholders as well. And I'm pretty confident that our slate will be victorious on the 13th of April.
You spoke about the manifesto, and it brings me to the question about what are some of the key points that have been outlined in this manifesto? You know, what's some of the points that you feel will appeal to those voting?
So we have about four or five key pillars in terms of what we want to execute within the first 60 days, first 100 days of our if we are elected. Some of it would be along the line of creating a sports science unit, not just in terms of the medicine side of it, but in terms of the development of athletes. Another key point that I think plagues the membership would be in terms of assistance from the TTFA when it comes to administration and helping the administration of the game. So we would help in terms of doing courses to help executives, presidents, club owners, in terms of that executive capacity and administration capacity in terms of clubs and associations. We also intend to engage the Ministry of Sports, Community Development, in terms of finding a home for most of our members. Most of our members currently do not have a home. So I'm currently the president of the Eastern Football Association, and we would have been trying over the years to acquire a home through the ministry for the zone and for the execution of our mandate through the zone. So it's important for us to ensure that we do find a home for each and every member connected to the TTFA and assist them with the resources to outfit that home and ensure that they have the administrative capacity. Another key point is that we have currently a relationship with Sport TT, but we are not, it's a relationship between the TTFA and Sport TT, but it should be now passed on to our members as well. So then giving, for example, these zones the ability to get interns to help in the administration of their duties. So along those lines, as well as a key point is setting up a satellite office in Tobago. We see that throughout the years, the island of Tobago, because it's a 12 island, and you see the island of Tobago having challenges when it comes to coaching courses, development for referees, for officials. So we need to assess that as well, assess the system. We intend to, once we are giving the funding from the FIFA 3.0 funding for projects in terms of aggressively having a home for football in Tobago, as well as in Trinidad, to have a field dedicated to the TTFA and for our national development. Currently, the TTFA does not have a field per se in terms of being able to access games. So, for example, our senior men's national team had a few friendlies against Jamaica recently, and there was somewhat of a up and down in terms of where the games will be played. So we need to identify and have a home in terms of a playing field for the TTFA, and that will also help in terms of earning revenue as well for the TTFA. So those are some of the things that we intend to do.
What about the women? I'm so interested in what's happening with the women football in Trinidad and Tobago. As a Trini myself, what are your plans where they are concerned?
So we would have had discussions with many teams as well as with the executive of the women football in terms of next step. Currently, the TTFA would have assisted the Wolf in terms of their league. It's still going on. The last couple of days should be happening over the next couple of weeks. And we intend to engage the Wolf in terms of forming and assisting them to have a proper league as well as youth development. So there's no youth league through the Wolf currently. We intend to have 2 youth leagues played with the women's through the Wolf League. And then in terms of development, so our high performance center is currently dealing with just 2 youth teams. We intend to have that done through the regional zones and have more grassroots development targeted for girls and boys, but in a more scientific, cutting-edge way in terms of the development for both girls and boys at a younger age. So, for example, we have 6 regions in Trinidad and Tobago. We intend to now have those age group levels throughout. So, U13, from U10, U13, U15, U17, U20, those grassroots development programs done in the 6 regions. So that will now widen the pool for selection for the tournaments when it comes to the Wolf. So we intend to support the Wolf and give them the resources needed to ensure that they have a competitive and a strong league in the future.
Yeah, and I find myself asking this question very often, but I think it's such an important question. What's your relationship like with corporate Trinidad and Tobago? Because all these plans are very pretty. I love them. But where are we getting the money apart from, what FIFA is going to give to Trinidad and Tobago? How's your relationship like with corporate Trinidad and Tobago? Because without money, there's honestly no sport.
Yes, I do know that. Being the director of the Ascension tournament, I would have engaged a lot of corporate Trinidad over the years. We would have restarted through the Ascension tournament. We would have restarted football in Trinidad and Tobago in a safe zone. And we would have had over 5 major corporate sponsors on board with the program. I think what we would have done through the Ascension tournament, even SportsMax, that would have been the first time SportsMax would have been broadcasting men's senior football, the entire tournament regionally. So I think we have a great relationship. I do personally have a great relationship with a lot of football sponsors.
Yeah.
And many persons on our slate. So, for example, we have a vice president that works closely with BP currently within the Miami area to do development and grassroots program. So, I think we are in good standing when it comes to corporate Trinidad buying in, because we would have been there, done that. I think they are waiting to see the outcome of this election to come on board and support the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation.
Yeah, Kyron, would you say that you have been a strong advocate against the normalization of TNT's football, and I think by extension, the extensions that followed the initial decision to put Trinidad and Tobago's football under normalization?
I wouldn't say I'm a strong opponent against it. I was not against the normalization committee. The issue that I had with the normalization committee when they were installed was that of the lack of initiative or the aggression to treat with the mandate given by FIFA. I would have been one of the key persons ensuring that the normalization was put in place and ensuring that the court matter would have come out of the matter would have came out of the courts, local courts, to install and have the normalization committee operate and have their mandate executed without any issues. So to say that I'm against the normalization committee, that's not true. But I think over the years we would have seen issues where, for example, the statutes, those issues with the statutes could have been done before. It was done now. We are now in the process of having elections to elect a new executive, and I'm comfortable with the situation.
Yeah, do you think that your stance around normalization, and as you just pointed out, your issue not specifically with the normalization committee, but how they operated, and certainly in terms of the efficiency and the timeliness of getting things done, do you think that will put you in a more positive light with the delegates? Do you see this as something that will help you to get into office?
I don't think it's an issue of being against the normalization or for the normalization when it comes to the membership and their votes. I think the membership, they look at the both slates and what they offer, and they'll make their decision. I don't think it's a decision based on who is for and who is against the normalization. I have a great relationship with Mr. Robert Haddad, and I do have a great relationship with persons in CONCACAF. So I don't see it as an issue of persons for or against. But the members, they will have their say come the 13th, and I'm confident that they will support our slate in that election.
Yeah, let's talk about your slate a little bit then, because I looked at it, a few experienced heads in there. Talk us through the decision-making in arriving at these specific individuals that you want to go forward with you in the running of Trinidad and Tobago's football.
The decision to have those persons on our slate, for example, Mr. Dogner, was based on the expertise and the translation of those expertise to football. So we have Mr. Colin Murray as the first vice president. He has a wealth of knowledge in terms of corporate Trinidad, in terms of senior executive management abilities at CARIB, one of the leading sponsors through the years for Trinidad and Tobago football. So it was important to have someone like Mr. Colin Murray on our slate that understands the relationship between corporate Trinidad and football and Trinidad and Tobago football. Mr. Dogner, we know that in our current amendments to the statutes, there is a time frame of 12 months to have the members' constitution in line with the TTFA's constitution, amended constitution. So it's important, Mr. Dogner being the expert in terms of the constitution currently in Trinidad and Tobago, it was important to have him on board to assist members in that process as well. Jameson Reeks, I would have mentioned him earlier on in terms of that's the person working closely with corporate Trinidad in terms of grassroots program in the Miami area and grassroots on the whole. So it was important to have him there, understanding his expertise and that translation to football and sports. We have two accountants on our slate, Alicia Austin and Ryan Nunes. It was important as well seeing that we would have been normalized based on our finance, it was important for us to have strong financial persons there in terms of financial prudence going forward in TTFA. We need to spend within what we earn, and that's important to me. So it was important that we had those accountants on board. We also have Mr. Andrew Budo, our ESP within the police service, the chairman of police football. And to have him on board, we want to take back, persons have been saying for years, taking back football to the community. But we understand the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago currently, and it was important that we had Mr. Andrew Budo on board to ensure that we understand the relationship between crime and crime fighting and sports, so that when we send persons into the communities to do various activities, we do understand the landscape that we are letting persons go into and the assistance that could be given by the community police. So it was a well thought of team. We also have Mr. Shelton Williams, Vice President of Phoenix, one of the, if not the best club in Tobago. I don't want any problems when it comes to that. But it was important to have Shelton there, knowing the importance of Tobago on our football landscape, knowing the plights of Dwight York being our, if not arguably the best player ever from Trinidad and Tobago, coming from Tobago. So it's important for us to get back to those grassroots programs, get back to the programs, get back to the communities. So having these persons on board really helped in terms of executing our mandate if given by the membership.
Kyron, great talking to you here on the SportsMax Zone. And I gather from all of what you've said and from what Worf had said when we had him on as well, both slates were very carefully selected, and there was a lot of prudent assessment of what might happen at the elections. We'll continue to track the story, and we wish you the best of luck on this project. Yeah, that's Kyron Edwards. We'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.